Something is stirring in the cold, vast emptiness of Canada. It's a whisper on the wind, a shadow that flits across the tundra. It's not a polar bear, and it's certainly not another politician promising better roads. No, this is something far more interesting. It's a machine, a Swedish masterpiece of violence and elegance. A fighter jet so clever, it makes your smartphone look like a lump of coal. They call it the Gripen E. Its mere consideration by the Canadians has sent a jolt through the corridors of power, Washington, Moscow. The world's superpowers are sitting up and paying attention, and they look a bit nervous, but that's like saying a Bugatti Chiron is just a car. This is different. This is a statement. For years, fighter jets have been dominated by a few big, loud, ruinously expensive players. Then comes this Swedish upstart, this Viking missile. It's David versus Goliath. But this David has a railgun and a supercomputer for a brain. The Gripen E's arrival in Canada's competition wasn't just another spreadsheet entry, it was a thunderclap. And so the stage is set, and believe me, it's a story worth telling. So, what is it? What is this Gripen E? Imagine the engineers at IKEA, after a particularly wild night on Scandinavian schnapps, decided to build a fighter jet. You'd expect it to be practical, brilliantly designed and come with a small Allen key, and you'd be almost right, except this thing doesn't come in a flat-pack box. The Gripen, which means Griffin in Swedish, is a single-engine multi-role fighter jet built by a company called Saab. Yes, the same Saab that used to make those quirky cars your university professor drove. They stopped making cars, and it seems all that pent-up genius went straight into making one of the most intelligent killing machines on the planet. The letter E at the end is important. It signifies that this isn't your father's Gripen. This is the new, improved, more muscular version. It's like the difference between a standard Porsche 911 and the GT3 RS. A much more powerful engine, courtesy of the Americans, strangely enough. It can carry more fuel, more missiles, and more bombs. They stuffed it with the most advanced radar and electronic warfare systems known to man. It's a complete overhaul, a top-to-bottom reimagining of what a modern, lightweight fighter should be. It is, in short, a masterpiece of Swedish common sense applied to the business of war. Right, let's get down to brass tacks. A fighter jet is a tool, and like any tool, you have to ask two questions. Does it do the job, and what does it cost? Let's start with the big one, the American F-35 Lightning II. The F-35 is the heavyweight champion of spending. It's a technological marvel, a flying supercomputer wrapped in stealth coating. Buying one is like buying a royal palace. Running it is like paying the electricity bill for that palace. Then you have the European contenders, like the French Dassault Rafale. A beautiful, potent and proven aircraft, a twin-engine beast capable of doing almost anything you ask of it. But you're paying a premium for that French flair, the haute couture of jets. And let's not forget the Russian Su-57 Felon. Big, menacing, packed with raw power, shrouded in mystery, production questions and whether its stealth actually works. The strong, silent type in the corner of the bar. And then there's the Gripen E. It waltzes in and says it can do 90% of what they can do for a fraction of the cost. Purchase price is lower, but the clever bit is running cost. Saab claims less than $5,000 an hour to fly. The F-35, over $40,000 an hour. For every hour an F-35 flies, you could fly a Gripen E for 8 hours. Think about that. For a country like Canada with a vast territory to patrol, that's not just a saving, it's a strategic revolution. This is the point that makes generals and politicians wake up in a cold sweat. You can have a smaller number of eye-wateringly expensive jets that you can barely afford to fly, or you can have a much larger fleet of very capable, very clever jets that you can have in the air all the time, and that is a very, very different question. Now, you'd think the superpowers wouldn't be bothered by a little Swedish jet. The United States has thousands of fighters. Russia has its own formidable air force. What's one more small player on the board? But that's a dangerously simple way of looking at it. The reason the Gripen E makes them twitch is because it represents a threat not to their aircraft, but to their influence. For decades, the global fighter market has been a private club. If you wanted top-tier performance, you either bought American or you bought Russian. This gave Washington and Moscow immense political leverage over their customers. The Gripen E crashes this party. It's a non-aligned top-tier fighter. A country can buy it without having to pledge allegiance to the White House or the Kremlin. It's the ultimate protest vote. For a nation like Canada, choosing the Gripen would be a declaration of independence, a polite but firm Canadian way of saying, "Thanks, but we've got this." For the Americans, this is irritating. It means their closest ally and neighbor wouldn't be flying the same plane, reducing interoperability, and, more importantly, losing out on a multi-billion-dollar sale. For the Russians, the Gripen E is a different kind of headache. The Gripen is a different beast entirely. It's not designed to get into a turning dogfight with an Su-57. It's designed to be smarter. It's a wasp stinging a bear, small, agile, and infuriatingly difficult to swat. And that is why, in the quiet, secure rooms of the Pentagon and the Russian Ministry of Defense, they are talking about the little Swedish jet that could. To understand why the Gripen E is such a tantalizing prospect for Canada, you have to understand Canada's unique problem. It's the second largest country in the world by land area. It has 3 coastlines, the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Arctic. That's an absurd amount of emptiness to patrol. The distances are, well, biblical. Flying from one side to the other is like flying from London to Baghdad. Most of it is sparsely populated, bitterly cold, and has all the hospitality of a grumpy badger. This isn't a country that needs a fighter jet for parading over a capital city. It needs a workhorse. Their current fleet of CF-18 Hornets has done a heroic job, but let's be honest, they're getting a bit long in the tooth. They first flew when Duran was at the top of the charts. Canada needs a replacement that can handle several very different jobs. First, it has to defend North American airspace alongside the Americans as part of NORAD. This means being able to scramble at a moment's notice, fly for enormous distances, and intercept anything from a lost Cessna to a Russian bomber probing the Arctic defenses. Second, it needs to be able to operate in the high north. The Arctic is not a friendly place for high-tech machinery. Breeze the optimism out of you. You need a jet that is rugged, reliable, and doesn't need a heated, hermetically sealed hangar just to start its engine. And finally, it must be affordable. Canada isn't the United States. Every dollar spent on a fighter jet is a dollar not spent on hospitals or schools, and Canadians tend to notice these things. When you look at that list, you start to see why the practical, rugged, and cost-effective Gripen E started looking less like an option and more like the only sensible answer. It seems almost tailor-made for Canada's epic Chile conundrum. So, how does a small single-engine jet hope to survive against giants like the F-35 or the Su-57? The answer isn't brute force, it's brains. The Gripen E's real party piece, its secret weapon, is arguably the most advanced electronic warfare system ever bolted into a fighter jet. While jets like the F-35 focus on physical stealth, shaping the aircraft to hide from radar, the Gripen takes a different, and some would say much cleverer, approach. It focuses on electronic stealth. It doesn't just try to be invisible, it tries to become a ghost in the machine. Think of it this way. Physical stealth is like wearing a camouflage jacket in the woods. The Gripen's electronic warfare is like having the ability to convince the enemy's eyes that you are actually a tree, a flock of birds, that you are 10 miles to the left of your actual position. Its powerful jammers and sensors don't just block enemy radar, they actively deceive it. It can create phantom targets, blind enemy aircraft, make it utterly impossible for an opponent to get a clean missile lock. It can fight a war in the electromagnetic spectrum before a single shot is even fired. This system is built around something called an active electronically scanned array, or AESA. Now, a lot of modern jets have AESA radars for looking out, but the Gripen E is one of the first to integrate this technology for both offense and defense, all over the aircraft. It has a main radar at the front, but also sensors dotted around the airframe, giving the pilot a complete 360-degree sphere of electronic awareness. It can see everything, in every direction, and it can jam and decoy threats from any angle. It's like having eyes in the back of your head and also on the sides and on the top and on the bottom. This is what makes superpowers nervous. Their entire strategy often relies on seeing the enemy first and shooting first. The Gripen E is designed to deny them that advantage. It can sneak in under the radar, not because it's physically invisible, but because it has convinced the enemy's systems that it isn't there at all. In modern air combat, the pilot who controls the electronic spectrum controls the battle, and the Gripen E is the undisputed master of that domain. Now, for a party trick so brilliantly simple, so utterly Swedish, it makes you want to stand up and applaud. Most modern fighter jets are like Formula One cars. They need a perfect, smooth, clean runway of a very specific length. They need a massive ground crew, specialized equipment, whole support infrastructure that costs a fortune. If their home airbase gets a single bomb crater in the runway, those billion-dollar jets are suddenly nothing more than very expensive statues. They are grounded, useless, waiting for the repair crews to fill the hole. This is a massive weakness. The Swedes, living next door to the Soviet Union for half a century, thought about this. They planned for a war where their main air bases would be turned into rubble within the first 5 minutes. So they designed the Gripen with an astonishing ability. It can take off and land on ordinary public roads, not a specially prepared 6-lane superhighway. A normal rural road, just 800 meters long and 9 meters wide. This is a capability that almost no other top-tier fighter on Earth can claim. It fundamentally changes how you can use an air force. This isn't just a theoretical concept, it's a core part of their doctrine. In Sweden, they practice this all the time. They close off a section of country road, and within minutes, a Gripen is landing, being refueled, rearmed by a small team out of the back of a truck and taking off again. The entire turnaround process can take less than 10 minutes. This means a Gripen Air Force is dispersed. It's everywhere and nowhere. You can't destroy it by hitting a few obvious airfields. The jets could be hidden in barns, under bridges, in camouflaged forest clearings all over the country. For a country like Canada, with its vast, remote territories, this is a staggering advantage. Imagine the tactical flexibility. You no longer need to build and maintain billion-dollar air bases in the Arctic. All you need is a straight bit of road. It's a guerrilla style of air warfare, making the entire country a potential airbase. It's a shockingly pragmatic and effective solution to the problem of defending a huge and vulnerable territory. So in the end, Canada chose the F-35. They went with the big, expensive American option. That's the safe choice. It guarantees interoperability with their biggest ally. It keeps them in the most exclusive club in the world. But the Gripen E forced a debate and changed the global conversation. The little Swedish jet held up a mirror to military aviation and asked, do you need the most expensive thing or the smartest thing? The Gripen E exposed the soft underbelly of modern air power. Brute force and big budgets aren't the only path. It showed intelligence, efficiency, and guerrilla thinking could triumph. Low running cost, revolutionary electronic brain, ability to land on a road. That combo makes it uniquely dangerous, designed for the real world, not an air show. For tight budgets, remote territories, and clever enemies. No maple leaf, but a profound legacy in the Canadian competition. It forced new thinking, showed alternatives to the American behemoth and the Russian behemoth, gave smaller nations hope to defend skies without bankruptcy, a shift from platform performance to overall force effectiveness. 200 smart, affordable jets versus 50 exquisite hangar queens. Gripen E may have lost Canada's purchase, but might be winning the future of air combat. A thorn in the side of the established order, testament to clever engineering over brute spending. A chilling whisper on the wind. The skies aren't just the superpowers' playground anymore. The Nordic dragon has shown its teeth. The world of air power will never be the same. And for that it is, and always will be, one of the most compelling machines on the planet.